Welcome to Toffee TV. It is my three things from Everton 1, Tottenham Hotspur 1 at Goodison. Today, I'm going to start with VAR, which is fast becoming a farcical addition to the Premier League. This is something both myself and Ped were in favour of, to be honest with you. I thought it would come in. I thought it'd make it easier for decisions to be made. I thought it would take away a feeling of, is corruption the right word, or certainly it would remove that the question of, you know, are teams given more bias than other teams? Because I stupidly thought that the media would have more interest in highlighting errors made by these referees and highlighting it to show that some teams are favoured more than others, forgetting that the media is basically journalists who support these teams at the top, so it was never going to work that way. But just the A, how long it takes to get a decision out, and B, there's total and utter lack of consistency in the decisions is baffling. And C, when they're looking at these decisions and we all get to see it, how they can possibly come up with the decisions that they come up with is absolutely nuts. We can all see it. You know, you can argue offside. Well, you can't really argue offside. Offside's the rule, but you could say, well, you know, millimetres, and I've seen some goals disallowed for millimetres and gone, you know, how is that possible? And we've seen Roberto Firmino have a goal disallowed yesterday for Liverpool, which wasn't offside, and yet VAR have looked at it and give it offside, which is mad. But we're seeing decisions that, when you look at it again, it's almost impossible to understand with some of them how they've come to that decision. Like in our game today, we've seen another penalty that Everton haven't got, and there's nobody can tell me why we haven't got it. It's a handball by Dele Alli. His hand is above his head. It's unnatural. So it's a penalty. That's the law, and it hasn't been given. And yet last week at Brighton, a lad looking at a ball with another lad, they come together, the feet, and he's awarded the penalty for throwing himself up in the air. And yet Richarlison's wrestled to the ground in the penalty area, which is a Stonewall penalty not given again. It's absolute nuts. It's absolute nuts. The thing today with Richarlison when he nicks it off Sanchez. Now that one, I'm taking one of the match commentators' word for it. I think he's on NBC, taking his word for it, and a couple of people who've seen it. I've not seen that particular one again, but apparently Richarlison, and I seen it at the time, nicked the ball off Sanchez and was caught. That's a red card. If Aurier is a penalty last week at Anfield, and I believed it was on Mane because I think he kicked him, didn't know he was there, but he caught him, then for me, that's got to be a red card then, because Sanchez has kicked Richarlison. But madness is that they're looking at it and not giving these decisions. There was one in Craig Dawson challenge yesterday, got a yellow card, and VAR looked at it and said he won the ball, and it's just mad. It's absolutely mad. He's seeing these from not just Everton. I'm feeling it from our perspective because we seem to be on the wrong end of them. But you're seeing Watford getting a penalty last night. That was dodgy. It's just ruining the game. We shouldn't be talking about it every week, and we are. And it's because of it is incompetency. That's what I'm going to call it, because that's what I see it as, incompetency. How can you not give decisions that most people look at and go, yeah, that's a penalty, that isn't, that's a foul, that is, that isn't, it is, or whatever? How can they look at it and come up with they look at it and dress it up in their own refereeing language to try to worm their way out of giving it? Unlike last week when they thought, well, we've been told we've got to start overturning decisions, so we're going to give that one that the referee didn't give. Nonsense, absolute nonsense, and something needs to be done about it, because it is going to ruin and drive people away from football. Everyone in the stadium comes out and just goes, it's just nonsense, that it's ruining. You know, every ground you hear fans singing VAR and all that, the crowd are booing the referee. It's just pathetic. Lead me on to Martin Atkinson today, who's an absolutely awful referee. How Everton have allowed him to referee so many of our games, I don't know. If I'd have been at the club after that Rodwell derby, he'd have never been allowed anywhere near Everton. There must be something that the club... I remember Ferguson having referees taken off and not being allowed to referee United game. You know, we done it with Clattenburg because Moyes was so incensed he wasn't given an Everton game for 7 years. Atkinson, who's about 104, is just allowed to come and do us over every time we have him. You know, and it's continued that trend. And again today, he was horrific today, absolutely horrific. Behind the play, he didn't have a clue what was going on. He was given free kicks at one end, that weren't at the other. Just an awful display. But it's not, I'm dressing it up as Atkinson, but the reality is, it's not just Martin Atkinson, it's the standard of refereeing anyway in the Premier League. It's atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious. And these fellas are on, and people can go, well, it doesn't matter how much they're on, but they're on like 130 grand a year. Now, that isn't an average wage in England. Obviously, in some places like London and you know, if you work in the city and stuff like that, you're on good money. Up here in Liverpool and Merseyside and Manchester, 130 grand, not a common wage to be on a year plus expenses. And yet they are making mistakes week after week after week. They haven't got a clue what they're doing. The game is just played around them. You know, so that to me, there needs to be a real look at the standard referees. I don't know whether, I said this last week and it was a bit radical. I don't know whether I'm convinced by even my own argument with it, but are we getting to a stage where we should have a referee in each half? Because these are men, I think, what's Atkinson, 50, say? How can they be expected to keep up with 25-year-old athletes, you know, and see things that are happening so quickly? So I know that, listen, 2 referees will bring its own problems, but I just think the standard of refereeing is atrocious. I don't know how you would change it, but it's just, for me, it's atrocious. And third and final is Everton. For me, this is more of a team thing, but for me, is the lack of fight in our team, or the lack of, not fight, the lack of like real team spirit and togetherness as one. That to me is a worry when I look at this Everton side. I think there's a lot of talent in it. I think I wouldn't say there's a lack of commitment from the players, but there's a lack of togetherness. There's a lack of drive. I think for me, too many of them almost want to throw their hand in when things aren't going the way that they should for them. You know, things like Richarlison falling over. Now, he does get kicked, but there's a lot of times he just hits the deck for no reason. Now, why is one of our players picking him up and having a go at him and saying, pack it in? You know, you're making yourself look stupid. You're not getting free kicks now that are because you're doing it so often. Why aren't we, you know, when that Sun thing happened, our players were just dispersed. There was no one rallying around. There was no one, you know, keep your head on this, let's get it. And it's not just that incident. There's a lot of incidents throughout the game and people making a mistake or whatever. There just doesn't seem to be enough. Is it leaders? I don't know. Because I thought Delph was. I watched that All or Nothing documentary. He seemed to be a leader there. He's mouthy enough. It just doesn't seem to be that mental toughness from the team. And I think we see this whenever Everton go away. There's a lack of that. The ability's there. Otherwise, how else can you explain the home form and the away form? The polar opposites. Everton are very, very strong at good, isn't it? Liverpool have took more points at home than Everton since March. And yet our away form is relegation material. It's you know, it'd be bottom of the league or whatever. So that to me again comes down to mental toughness, and you know, it could be the manager's tactics as well thrown in there. I'm not giving him a free pass on this, but I just think, but it's his job, Marcel Brand's job, to get players who are mentally tough and who will unite the team. And just, it worries me sometimes our lack of mental toughness. You know, the crowd have pulled them through in those last, and the fact we were playing against 10 men has pulled them through those last 10 minutes to get a draw. But if that would have been away, would the players have been able to maintain that level? I'm not so sure, and that is a worry as we go through the season, particularly where we are 17th in the league, 11 points from 11 games. It's embarrassing when you look at the level of play we've got. But that's it. That is it for my 3 things anyway. Check out all the other match reaction stuff. Subscribe if you want. Give the video a thumbs up. Whatever. See you later.